Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to create your own kick making tool in Ableton Live, completely free. Just build it and then you can save this as a rack and load it up anytime for your next EDM project. All right, let's get right on into it. The first thing you're going to want to do is add in a instrument rack for yourself into your track. We're going to name this track Kick. And then what we're going to do is your kick sound, especially in EDM, is made of multiple components. The first component is the transient at the start, the initial click, followed by a mid kind of thump, gets you just a little bit above your chest, and then the deep thump underneath, or the sub. And those happen in time sequentially, and they're also vertically created frequency-wise in the spectrum. And maybe I can just pull in a quick sample here to show you kind of what that looks like if you zoom in. Yeah, okay. So if you're looking at this sample here, this from here to here is like your transient, just the first little bit. And then you have the middle bit, which is the mid, and then the rest, the tail, is the thump. So we're going to recreate that into a kick tool that you can drag and drop samples in to create your own kind of super kicks. All right, back to the track here. What you're going to do is you want to drag and drop in 3 samplers that are going to play your samples. Just grab sampler here. So 1, going to change it here so you can see the chains. 1, 2, 3. And we're going to name these high, mid, and low. Right, and then into these, each ones, we're going to drop a transient in high, the mid one in the mid slot, and then the low thump sample in the low. So I'm just going to go and get my samples here. First, we're going to have the low one, which is going to sound like that, at least to start. So we're going to drop that in there. And then my mid is right here. Not sure about that mid one. I don't know if that's the one I used before. We'll have to test her out. And then we're going to drop in a high top kind of sound. Just like that. This could be like a stick against, or like a rim shot on a snare, or a hi-hat sound, or a really bright kick. Anything like that that has a top end that you want, or a click transient, I would use that. All right, so all together we now have this. Now, there are some problems with this. They're all clashing in different frequency ranges, which we're going to sort out right now with some EQ8 on each one. So for the low one, you're going to want to high pass it quick at the bottom. And then what you're going to do is low pass it quite low, so you're just getting the sub. I'm just going to solo this. Okay. You don't want too much upper frequencies. Maybe something like that. We'll come back and tweak these as we're going. Okay, that's that one. And then we're going to go to the mid one here. Draw in another EQ8. Let's solo this up. We're just going to use a steeper cutoff here. We don't want interacting with the sub at all or getting in the way. So this one doesn't seem to have quite enough like mid information going on, so we're going to try to find another kick. Too deep. This one could be interesting. Let's give this a go. Okay, I like that. You don't have to cut out the highs on this because this is also going to be shifted in time away from the transient, and you still want highs in your kick, obviously. So kicks these days are completely full range, I would say. Okay, and then for the high bit, the little transient click, drag another EQ just to be on the safe side here. Yeah, there's some lows that we want to get rid of. Fine tune. Okay. I'm going to say somewhere in that range. Okay, now you can listen to it all together. Cool, that's better. You can hear the separation that is improved by using the equalizer. And now there's one more bit to it. Like I showed you in the sample, the sub actually starts later than the transient. The mid starts in between the two of them. And we're going to do that right in here inside Simpler. We're just going to drag this over. I'll show you. Yeah, now it's starting a little bit later. So the transient's going to happen first, then our mid, and then our sub is going to come in. And I like to just turn up the attack a little bit on this so it's not just a really sudden start. It's rounded in a bit. Going on to the mid here. We're just going to back it off a little bit. Just leave room for a little click. That's just the tail. Okay, let's go something like that. Let's hear these two together. Okay. And then all three. If you listen really closely, you can kind of hear how the click happens first, then the mid comes in, and then the low. That's what you want. But of course, these stay. So now you can always just drop in other samples that you have in your library when you're making a new kick, and everything will stay the same and just drop in. Okay, one more thing for the low part is normally it starts high and pitches down in a kick sample. So we're going to mimic that. You're just going to go over to controls, click pitch on the envelope, and then that's good right there like that. So if we solo this, yeah, it's quickly pitching down at the start. So that's good. You want that. Okay, so that's kind of the basic start of making your super kick. Obviously, it's a little weak sounding still. So now you kind of want to go in and begin to process after this rack. So I usually do this separate afterwards, and then I group them together all in one massive rack. Oh, actually, I forgot one bit here for your actual kick. What you want to do is for the low, go to your transpose here and map that to macro 1. And then also do the same for the mid. Map that to macro 1, or what is now called transpose. This allows you to globally change the pitch of your kick. So you can kind of tune it to the song then really quick. So there's a little hack. I don't usually do the transient because it sounds weird pitched down. So you can just leave the transient where it is. It's just a quick sample anyways, and then just pitch the actual tonal elements of the track. All right, on to the processing. So the first thing I like to do is to liven it up with a little bit of saturation. So we're going to put that here. We're just going to apply that to everything. Okay, we better throw a limiter on my track here before it gets too out of hand. Okay, so now we're driving in a little saturation to this. Not too much, otherwise it starts to lose that low fundamental and it becomes just distorted. And then from there, we're going to want to add in some compression. That might be too much. It's kind of clipping the plugin. Okay, somewhere in there is good. Now here, I like to add in another EQ. We're going to use this later to just tweak how the actual kick sounds. Carrying on, we're going to want to soft clip the end of this. Just like that. You just turn soft clip on Ableton. That'll chop off anything off like a limiter basically. Speaking of limiters, we're going to add a limiter in as well. I just like to see it just pushing a bit. Yep, there we go. And then we can begin to tweak this just a bit. Like, do we want, yeah, that's way too much. Maybe we want some more lows in this. It sounds a little top heavy. A couple dBs more there. Okay, let's try blacking off the mids. Usually it's the mids that you have too much of and you need to dial down just a bit. Or if you want something really forward heavy, but from my experience, that's what you want to dial down on, just a tiny bit. Obviously, it's going to depend on the song. And then the last thing you want to do is add some sort of a sidechain plugin that you can use to control the length of this kick, because you don't want it taking up the entire beat necessarily. And by doing this kind of globally, it won't matter what sample you drop in, it will be controlled to what's going on. So I have that on quarter note because that's what your kick is normally going to be. And then you can shorten it up. Okay, so that's too short, obviously, but this is very important for a clean mix to keep it out of the way of your bass. Like you sidechain your bass out of the way of the kick. This is kind of like sidechaining the kick out of the way of the bass. Kind of the reverse here, okay? So that's good right there, but it just guarantees that for this latter half of the beat, it's completely free. I always like to control the tails of them. And then the last little bit that you want to do this is just add some custom EQs to just round it out and shape it a little bit. First, we're going to work with the actual Ableton EQ. I'm just going to sweep through and look for a knock. Yep, there it is. Boost it just subtly. I'll bring in a low shelf here. Boost the lows just a bit. Not too much. Yeah, I like that. And I want to add in one more cut here. This is probably going to be a cut. We're just going to look for kind of in the 500 range. Something a little noisy. Usually like that. Okay, not quite 500, more 3K. Yeah. If we just solo that, you'll hear what I'm talking about. Yeah, just kind of noisy. Okay. So we got rid of that. Now for the kind of color EQ, I'm going to call them. I'm going to drop links to these in the description. They're completely free. First, we have the plugin Alliance subfilter. This adds a sub-frequency. So you dial in the frequency of the punch. It's pushing the soft clipper right now, so that's why it sounds bad. And then dial down the low end to -10. So with it, without it, with it, yeah, just a little extra thud there. You can also drop this in an instrument rack and put it in parallel. I like to do that a lot. Works well. And then next, we're going to use Casa EQ. This is like a Baxendal EQ. And I actually tend to just sweep through, hear what it sounds like. Slightly more lows. The mids, I usually go up or down. It depends. This case, it feels like it could use a touch of mids. Highs. Just bring out that click at the top. This one actually can use a fair bit more of the click. All right, and there you have it. Super kick in Ableton Live. You can just select everything, group it together, and then you could save this as your own preset right down here. Name it in your thing, and then whenever you start a new track, you just drag and drop it in. Switch out the samples quick, different clicks, different mids, different lows, and it's all right there ready to go. An alternative to that would be to save this in a project, make custom kicks that you like, and then record them to like a new track like this. Open up the tracks, the external in from kick, sample it out, and then drop them onto a drum rack and have like 10 different kicks that you really like, and then save that, and then just drag and drop that into your tracks. That might be the more efficient, quicker route, but I tend to work like this. And there you have it, your own free super kick maker in Ableton Live.